Welcome to Grit and Gravitas with Ann and Annie, bringing you savvy, spirited stories of success. We're excited to deliver 30 minutes of inspiration, impact, and goodness. We'll be bringing you guests and friends from around the country who have very special work and personal journeys. I'm Ann Deeter Gallaher, your co-host with Annie Carnathan, and this is Grit and Gravitas. Let's go. Welcome to Grit and Gravitas. Annie Carnathan, best part of our week here in the recording studio at global headquarters of Deeter Gallaher Group.
In Camp Hill, Pennsylvania.
PA, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So back by popular demand is my lime Eddie Bauer vest. I'm not paid to say that.
Absolutely
I don't want to get lost on my
Slays.
next national or state park hike. So there you have it. And I'm matching the lime lights and our art.
You are so much the part of gravitas and grace. It's crazy. Right there.
I'm not even going to question you. I'm just going to say thank you.
That's it. Women, do that. Don't be self-deprecating.
For that affirmation.
Don't diminish. Yes, thank you. They're very nice. Very nicely done.
So topic today, we got sidetracked last time in a good way. Sidetracked in a good way. Because I sent you a link.
Nobody even knows what last time was.
I know.
Except us.
I sent you a link the other day, and we're both avid Wall Street Journal readers.
Yes,
love,
indeed.
Love. And I read it in my print version because I'm tactile and love to hold that. And I laughed out loud because I resonated so much with the topic, both for myself in client relationships and for my team because I've been guilty of it.
Mm-hmm.
And the headline was something like the 2 words that cause junior employees to shudder. I don't know if shudder was the word, but that's what it meant. And it was framed around, the narrative was when our juniors, people who work for us, or if you're a manager or executive, receive a late night text or email that just says PLS fix, please fix. And that immediate, we talked about tension last time, but that immediate tension in the spine, like, are you kidding me? So laptops are closed, your workstation is done, and you get this. And I have had it. We talked a little bit. I know that you have experienced that. Weigh in on that.
Yeah, and the cortisol and the adrenaline, it's for me especially, it's a physical thing for me. It just
totally.
Whoosh.
Yes.
And it's tough for me to manage that emotion. It just is. And I'm aware of it, and it's a constant battle. So please fix. Wow, that's okay. So for me,
let's tackle it 2 ways. For you as the CEO, have you ever sent a text or an email like that to a junior, staff member or somebody working for you?
So let me answer that in 2 parts. I'm sure I have, but I have difficulty like with yesterday.
Yeah.
Crowded headspace. So my point to that is I am very, very, very intentional when I'm doing work on the weekends, when I have an uninterrupted hour, when I get in a groove, quite honestly, when I find the time when I don't have the constant interruptions that are part of what I do. That is enormously disruptive because everyone comes before what I have to do. So I will communicate that by saying, especially Sunday morning, it's super, super early, time before mass, I go to late mass. That's my wheelhouse. And what I do is I might do 10 emails and pen them.
So what do you mean?
I pen them at the bottom. I don't send them.
I got it.
I write them.
So they're in a queue,
pop
ready
out,
to be,
right? And they sit down there
so
just
because it's
on the
your
stove
mind,
percolating.
You're right. You're respecting your weekend.
Yes. And I thought one of the most brilliant parts of Outlook, and this is how you sort of compare yourself to the world, one of the components of Outlook now with the new software upgrade is that you can time when you want an email to go.
Yeah, good.
Genius. right? Instead of, 14 emails at 8:30 a.m. on Monday, right? Clearly, I did not just do that all at the same time. So I am cognizant of that. Now, the flip side of my own worst enemy is, and this is absolutely last night, which is why you can't make this stuff up. Awful Thursday night NFL football games for whatever reason. So I'm finishing talking to my husband. My girls are good. My dogs are good, and I'm gonna head in and go to bed. But what do I do for whatever reason?
No, don't.
I look at my email. Like, what in the world isn't going to wait until morning? And it's, you know what? It will be right where I left it.
Yes.
And no one is going to grade me. And if they do, I don't care at 10 o'clock. I don't care if it's Pacific time. I don't care if it's Central time, Mountain time. I don't care. But a particularly very, very angst-filled, disruptive issue right now, and I get an email, and it wrecked my sleep night. I'm just going to be perfectly honest. And I thought, you know what? You have you to blame for that. And that's the discipline that I have for myself, and it better be the discipline I have for my team. Now, could be something, digital's 24/7 if something's wrong, but that's where it's a text. Right? A text used to have, immediacy. Now it's really snail mail. But the bottom line is, if it's that kind of urgency, that I can understand. The email is absolutely going to be there.
So was that email sent at night, or you just opened it up and found it?
Oh no, it was sent. It was sent. It was sent at night. So clearly that person's working, and that's well and good. But I immediately torpedoed myself, and then I toss and turn, and I can't push that off. When it was that few hours where I did disconnect, because I'm trying to be in more boundaries, in more lanes, with more guidelines, to basically have better mental health.
Yep. And you have to, and you're the guardian of that. You have
That's
to.
right. And when I say, if somehow, very few people really want to know how I am, but when I do, it's just this, there's a relentlessness to business now.
Yeah.
Not necessarily my job. There's just boundaries have been blown apart. And part of it, Anne, and I believe this, is part of it to me, when there's a hybrid schedule, it might shapeshift your hours. So if somebody really isn't a morning person and doesn't get cooking till 10 or 11, it's sort of probably okay if it's 6 or 7 or 8, right? They're working. You can communicate that. So that, I think, is one of the thorns.
Yeah.
In just now, it's not 8:30 to 5 anymore. I'm not walking over to you in the office and hey, before you go, and I've got like,
right.
They're in the ether making these hybrid schedules because they're working from home, and so that to me isn't as self-obvious. And I can't sit there and determine who's doing what, where, when, right? But I only manage my department heads. But the point for them is, if this can wait, it absolutely positively should wait.
Right.
And so I don't impinge, right? Because it has to start with me. There's no badge of honor in working, at 9:30 on Sunday morning, but that's what I want to do.
Right.
That's part of the shape shifting. Saturday morning's a lot of what I didn't get to Friday, and it just sort of gives me a better sense of closing that break, and then,
But opening the email at night, and I can feel with you, it is a physical feeling. It is that. So I have been at the foot of Mount Rushmore and received a text that I had to fix something right away. And it was on a national scale, and I had to, and there wasn't anybody at that time that could do it. But immediately my husband is sitting, at a table waiting for me. And in my mind, I just thought the craziness of this. We were there for a very special milestone, and I could he's so gracious and kind, but I thought this is like a new level of insanity. I'm here at a once in a time, and in my industry, these things do happen. There's no, so you're in media, you sometimes have to make decisions where you have to stop a campaign or you have to do whatever, and that might be
copy's running wrong.
right,
Something's
and that might be from a text that you received.
Yeah, could be a typo that our partner did when we don't do creatives.
Right.
But bottom line is we're responsible, for everything a consumer sees. And so I think that and to that fact, it's a fact.
Yeah.
So there's no way for me if in fact it's 24/7. And I don't know, if my husband is just sort of sucks the life out of the room. And it's my fault. And I'm like, I didn't, I didn't even tell him because it will wreck him along with me.
But he could probably tell.
Well,
the countenance changes.
I don't know, but I do think that clearly my mental health and my physical health are as important to him.
Yes,
I mean that as his are to me. And I think, again, with our son gone now, there's more of
you're spending more time
together. Less
yeah.
of buffers and layers of
Yes,
protection. And so it's been a neat rediscovery. And I think it's just, I don't want to be that burden. And so that's where I have.
So you were trying to put on a good face or let.
I just didn't bring it up because then it would have manifested itself into this whole, and I would have just, and I know, Ann, I know 100% that was 100% on me.
Yeah, no, by opening. So I think that's a business vitamin. We're in charge of our boundaries. We can't, it's great to say, don't send these emails at night. We can't open them. If we want to safeguard, we talked before about our mind share, about the space in your mind, we have to protect that because there's always something to do. In my world, in your world, there's always something more that we could post or we could edit or we could submit or a campaign we really should start a week earlier. Should we have one more meeting? But I think we're doing business at the speed of thought. And when you're just rolling down the track at the speeds that we are, and then you get something like that. And I sent the article to my team. So it's October 10th for anyone who wants to look it up in the Wall Street Journal, because I know that I've sent those texts and I said, I pray to God it wasn't received as I have received some, where it just, I was on my way to one of my children's weddings and I also received a text where I had to do something. And I'm like, this is craziness too. I think every milestone I've had this situation.
But doesn't it just depend? I mean, this is the thing, right? So I'm not judged to a higher standard. I don't think any of that's accurate. Don't feel sorry for me. But I do think the second there's a misstep, it's like whoosh. And it's maybe there's more of a gotcha, and it's like, wait a minute, who's going to give me the grace?
That
misstep, absolutely a mistake.
Right.
There's absolutely no. I think full responsibility.
Right.
And so it's like, wait a minute, can't anyone provide that grace?
The same grace
to say she had a bad. It was a bad moment, right? And I had tons of them, and I think it's just sort of how I look out and say, absolutely. I don't need to forgive anybody, but I absolutely know what it means to give that grace. That isn't who you are. Like having a bad day doesn't make me think I have a bad life.
Right.
There's not,
good point.
But when you're like constant like we are and there's no perspective, there's no way to step back. Like I could have the most well-ordered day in the world. Here's tier 1s, got to get done by the end of the day. Here's tier 2s. If I can, great. Here's the drop dead. If it's tier 2, and this is every day.
Yeah.
As I'm up in the morning doing my thing and mentally, and I have lists, and I go, oh my. At 8:35 a.m., that could just be blown to smithereens, and I'm the only one that has to put Humpty Dumpty back together again and put him up on the wall. Guess what? That's what I signed on for.
No, right. Exactly right. I've
That
took
doesn't mean I'm not like missteps, right?
I took away, excuse me, for me personally from the article is more what am I controlling with my team? Number one, we've had a crazy 2 weeks, and I constantly affirm them. I made it a point to say, I wouldn't be anywhere without you, ladies. I wouldn't be able to we wouldn't be able to get any of the awards, the successful campaigns, helping businesses grow, have more clients, sell more products or services without them. So, first off, and I often say, if I haven't told you lately, meaning in the last 2 weeks, please know that I deeply value everything you do, everything you say. Doesn't mean I agree with everything you say, doesn't mean they don't make missteps and I provide grace, and vice versa. But I said, first of all, start out with the affirmation, which kind of gives you a bank that when you do ever have to send that please fix text or email, it gives you a little
It's
reserve.
equity.
Like,
Yeah, that's
like,
a deposit you're making for a rainy day.
Don't
and
let
you need
them
to
doubt. Am I meeting Ann's expectations? Am I meeting the client's expectations? To your point, I think I have to get better with knowing that we're never gonna be 100% all the time. There's creative things that get missed. There's semicolons that get missed. There's all kinds of things, but we do our darndest. And so when I'm giving them, and often like you, so I'll be churning out some things Saturday morning after a walk or something, just because it's my agenda. And I will 99% of the time preface it by saying, don't touch this. If you're checking your email, don't touch this. We'll talk Monday. But I probably should do what you're doing with the Outlook.
Well, but it's open. You're not opening it to not read it. You're going to read it. And so the only way they can't read is if it isn't there.
Right.
Because that's the level of responsibility. Yes. And the bottom line is I could do this 24/7 until I collapsed. I would wake up and there's still the same amount.
Right.
And so it will take from me what I give it. And I have to be the cruise control.
Yep.
I have to make sure the car is fully functioning. Can't go on a long journey without brakes. I can't think, it'll be fine. Yeah. Right? I can make it 35 more miles.
But to your point, this is what we signed. I started the business. It's my business. I don't have shareholders. It's all on me. So I do know that. I don't whine to anybody.
Do you know what you don't have? You don't have corporate layers of protection.
No, absolutely.
Every sling and arrow someone wants to shoot, your name's on it. Mm-hmm. You know who it goes into? Your body. It's a body blow.
But that's what we signed,
That's right.
That is, I know that. I knew that then. And, we rise and fall on our decisions and every single day in decisions we've made.
To whom much is given,
much is required.
Much is expected, required. And the bottom line is we had talk about full circle. We just brought on to the team Nick Mickley and Sarah Schweitzer.
Yes, congrats on that. That's a huge
year. It's massive.
Win.
And think about the courage for them. Nick was at iHeart, left as president after 18 years. Sarah started at iHeart out of college, 11 years, top rep there. And think about the courage to pivot out of those things to Universal. And so full circle, have known Nick, from the day he walked in the door. And I think to myself, he's me in terms of the commitment and the loyalty and the ability to have an impact. And I'm trying to say to him now, right? You get to be a husband. You get to be a dad. Go play baseball without watching your phone. Like, you can do all the same things you've done and have a quality of life that exists here, but you have to modulate it, right? You're not here to be burned out. You're not here to reach some mythical part of your mind that we all say, wow, he's really doing well, right? There's no, it's inconceivable to me that he and Sarah will not wildly succeed. Inconceivable. And now we're just all rowing in the same direction to get that done. And I want to say conversation with him, 5, 6, 7 years. Right. So long time coming, but he had to get here when he got here.
Yeah.
It wasn't blue sky. This is really, really difficult. And now the focus is, how do I help him and Sarah be successful?
Yeah.
That's what drives me. But again, not absolutely. And my therapist said this. She said, Annie, think about it as the oxygen mask on the plane. What did they tell you about that? We've talked about this, right? And that's the visual. That and the priest saying there's a reason the rear view mirror is the size it is in the window. But she said, think about it. The first thing they say is, when that drops down, put it on yourself first, and then
you can help others. Yeah.
Help others. Because you can't help anyone if you're not breathing.
Right.
And so, but look, these checklists, right? People know what they should do. Do they actually follow through and do it? And I'm here to tell people, it isn't any easier for me. It isn't. Do I make it look easy? Some days I do. Because look, I mean, am I brave or acting brave? Right. I'm a stiff upper lip. I'm going to soldier on. I'm going to get it done. But I don't think that makes it any easier for me or any more of something that I have all the answers for.
Right.
But I do know now, and not just because of Nick, but I push things back and say, you blah, 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 whether it's ask another person,
right,
figure that out. What would you do? You know, today at 1, there's a call where 2 really young girls have to sort of say, this isn't breakthrough investment, right? You can't keep doing this because you're never going to succeed. And we don't want to fail, right? And like, oh, could you tell her that, Annie? Nope. I'll be there to catch you when you fall. I'll be the net, but you guys have to message this.
Yeah.
You have to voice this, because ultimately you have to know that if this isn't going to produce demonstrable results, and it can at this level, we really need to decline that moving forward, right? And it's okay. You have to really believe we're doing the best thing by her.
Yeah.
And that's difficult, right?
Oh.
And so that's where I think what you and I do, and a huge part of this podcast is to say we're aware of all this.
Well, you can't lose sight, and I don't think either one of us has, like going back to the please fixed message. I'm not out of tune with what the people working with me or the clients are going through. And we know if I'm sending a text like that, I know full well how it will be received because I've been there. And so I don't do that now unless there is, a serious reason that someone has to get to your laptop, get to your iPhone and do the next step. But I think sometimes the C levels, they forget the unleashing of, fear and trepidation that a message like that sends.
Or they want it and they relish it.
That's a worse thought.
Okay, but that exists too. And I think
that's a power play there.
To me, please fix, it's like, oh. And then it was, what was interesting about the article, and there were a lot of things interesting, was how Gen Zs or X's, I forget the letters, like read so much more into that.
Well,
and how it's just not, it's, first of all, they're not even spelling a word out, which is an enormous pet peeve of mine. Fix, like like you might as well cough up a loogie. And it's just sort of like, and then they take 2 more words and they make it this entire indictment.
Yes,
of who they are, of their job. What? Because I was like, you said this is like,
well, that's
all I said though. Like, not all this other stuff. Like, I do a horrible job. Don't make this mistake again. God, like what? That helps though, right?
That would have been solved if we're all in the office.
And to me,
the nuance would have been taken away. They would know exactly what we're saying. If I come into someone's office and said, even if it's 5:00, which is, not the best thing, 5:00 on a Friday, 6:00 on a Friday. If something needs to be fixed, sometimes you just have to buck up and fix it. It doesn't mean you're losing your job. It doesn't mean it didn't go through my eyes too, and I was complicit in that. But it just and it, to your point, it's not an indictment on your entire year-long performance. It just means we're in this ship together. We got to plug the hole, whatever it is.
And
we
it's
have
like,
to fix it.
wait, where did you get that? But when you think about socially, how slayed people are by like a couple words, it's like most of the time I talk to my son, like, what is this slang for that? Like, why are people so upset by that? He's like, well, Mom, that's what that means. I'm like, how would I know that? But here's the other thing too. I think and I sat with these two women and I said, look, I'm going to be right there, but you have to do this, right? Nothing's going to happen that we can't fix.
Yep.
It's minimal risk, quite honestly, because you just have to get in the ladder and learn to do this. Here's a phrase I use a lot, which is help me understand what you're thinking. Help me understand why that's your position. And I'm earnest in that.
Yeah.
I am obsessed with why. I'm obsessed with why I'm the person I am today. I'm obsessed with what it means to be who I am. And if I know that, I can manage it better.
Yeah, right.
I can help more, right? And so one of the women, and I think she's in Connecticut or Boston, emailed me afterward and said, you know what, Annie? You're amazing. No one takes the time to mentor anymore. And that was just a call to say to these two, I'm reminded of my heart and my intentions, right? But because there's plenty of times too where I don't have a good moment, where there is a misstep, where I wish by the grace of God it had been that.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? Every moment can't be that. And I have to look in the mirror and go, you know what? I'm always saying to everybody, you're human, you're human. You need forgiveness, you need grace. And all I say is, if we make the same mistake over and over, we're going to be fired and we deserve to be.
Right.
But we can always fix and tweak what the best relationship can be for both parties.
Right.
And so I was like, my heart swelled till that was the best part of my week. And it was 3 sentences. Yeah. And so I thought, that's how authentic and genuine. I don't just talk about it. You and I couldn't just say we want to pay it forward and do this show. It's way, way too much of a commitment.
Yep.
So I think that is that reminder, that light in a dark, dark tunnel that says, there's still important things you can do.
Yeah.
Without feeling like I felt last night at 9:30 when I opened that email
It's
and I'm
awful.
like, shame on you, girl.
And I think, I've had one of my 3 sons, he's had more than one time where he's wanted to leave the phone home during vacation, and he's opened it and it darn near ruined the rest of the vacation. And it was something.
Touche, right?
You can't.
I'm not new. I'm not unique.
Yeah.
This is happening to all of us.
So I think for me, it was a reminder, like I told you, I laughed out loud because I could resonate with a lot of it. It was a reminder to constantly invest in the bank of affirmation for your team. Don't take it for granted that they know how you feel. Like constantly do that. Not.
It's recognition. It's
not
appreciation.
To,
it's value, right?
Just to be honest and authentic. Then when you have a moment where you have to send the please fix text at 10 o'clock on a Friday night, it is better received because they know what your heart is and they know that we're in this together, that it's not a gotcha and like, what the heck were you doing? Why didn't you fix this?
That's exactly right. It's all about the cushioning in the feather bed, right? Versus being slammed down onto a slab of concrete. It's all about the presentation. It's all about how we frame things. It's all about the context. Mm-hmm. If it's like, you're really great, but here comes the concrete, right? Here comes the bad upside the head. And I think, but I can absolutely be perceived that way. If I don't do what I should do and I'm not intentional and I don't communicate, and that's when I need to just exit stage left. Right. And it's interesting because at the Giants Center, my husband says, well, Walker's here. I mean, if anything, no, we have elderly parents. Anything could happen.
Right.
Guess what? We don't have our phone for 2 hours. Right. And
back to the concert.
I think so. He knows where I am right now. Like everybody, I try to be, I'm like an open book anyway, but really transparent. And if somebody wants to get you, badly enough, they're going to be able to find you. So I think that's, a huge, huge topic is how we communicate, how you and I would versus how we're communicating with PLS Fix.
Yeah.
Just oceans between, right?
So
that's going to wrap us up.
A lot of good business vitamins. I hope people will resonate with what we're saying. And obviously, if the Wall Street put, I think it was on the front page, check it out, October 10th issue. And I love reading stuff like that. It was just a reminder of the soft skills of doing business, which sometimes, helps us succeed or tanks us.
Yeah, and I probably blew right through that because just seeing that, I'm annoyed. Please fix. Like, it annoys me, right? The spelling, the punctuation, the loss of a craft of the English language, right? That's where I'm a dinosaur with a buggy whip at the same time, right? But
so for your business vitamin, don't pick up the phone. Don't check your email at 10:30 at night.
You gotta have boundaries. Just rock solid boundaries, because then you're asking for it and you deserve exactly what you get.
And give the same grace or more than what you expect to receive.
Praise the Lord. May we all
Annie
do that.
Carnathan, Grit and Gravitas. I love talking to you. What lessons we have learned in business, and I hope we're trying to invest in our listeners' business bank too.
Best is yet to come, my friend.
Have a high gear day. Thanks for listening. It's our desire that these stories will bring energy, ideas, and fresh thinking that you can use today. Subscribe to our podcast and follow us on Instagram, and have a high gear day.